Fourth year student, here is our poem, our first lecture for the second semester. Our poem is entitled The Gypsy by Ezra, and here we are meeting an American poet. Ezra is an American poet. He's very well known to be or let's say to have a great influence on other poets, other modern poets. For example, T.S. Eliot. He is actually one of those who edited the poems of T.S. Eliot. So here we are going to meet one of the most important modern poets. And the poem, as you see, is entitled The Gypsy. The Gypsy, I guess you know what this word means. In Arabic, the Gypsy means al-Ghajar. And here we are going to see that the poem is about one of those people. And I think maybe in your life, in our community, maybe you have met one of them, the Gypsies. Here in Iraq, in Arabic countries, they live actually everywhere. So let's have an idea about the Gypsies as people before we go through the poem. So who are the Gypsies? The Gypsies are tribes with distinct origin. Distinct, what we mean by the word distinct is that they have different origins, and actually sometimes they are assumed to be Indian, sometimes they are assumed to be from Europe. It is not actually clear what is their origin. They have different, they live in different places. There are different theories about their origin. They have different backgrounds, but of course they have some, let's say, some common features. If you look for the Gypsies in the internet, you will see that they are called Roma people. Roma. And it is not related to Rome in Italy, of course. This is just in a similar name. They are called Roma people. What is so, let's say, distinguished about the Gypsies or the Roma people? And maybe if you have seen any of them on TV or on videos or maybe in real life, you will notice that they earn their living by performing entertaining shows. Like, for example, dancing. Some of them even they work in circuses. يعني اللي يعملون بالسيرك with animals like birds, monkeys, and lions. You see, they sometimes they have circus, and you know this kind of these kind of entertaining shows. They are not in one place. The Gypsies are known to be traveling all the time. They are in constant traveling. They move from one place to another most of the time. They can't live in just one place. You see? So usually most of the time, the way they earn their living is by performing such shows. And you have to pay attention to the idea of what animals. You will see how it is important in our explanation for the poem. What about the language they speak? They speak one Romani language. Their language is called Romani. يعني مو اللغة الرومانية طبعا. لا ولكن بالنسبة لاسمهم because they are called Roma, so their language is called Romani language. And it is, I'm not sure what kind of language it is. What else we know about the Gypsies? They are known to have a strong sense of group identity. Because they live somehow they are very isolated from the modern societies. They don't live inside a fixed society, inside a city or a village or town. They are constantly moving, so they developed kind of let's say a group unity or identity. You see, one member is strong because he lives inside a group, not by himself. He's strong because he knows that his people are always around him. They support him, you see. And they have their own social system, which is so different from one country to another. So, for example, the Gypsies who live in the Arabic world, they don't have the same social system, for example, like those who live in Asia or maybe in Europe. You see, they have their own social systems. Most of the time these social systems, they are not or they don't confirm with، يعني ماكو خلينا نقول توافق بين هاي الأنظمة الاجتماعية الخاصة بهم والأنظمة الاجتماعية المعروفة في المجتمعات الكبيرة. You see, and it is even different from one country to another. This is really important. You have also to pay attention to this point here. So, since we are talking about the modern world and the modern times and the modern age, of course, we have to say something about the world wars. And here we are talking about the Second World War. What happened to the Gypsies during this time? Actually, they were persecuted and oppressed. They were persecuted and oppressed, especially by the Nazi regime, النظام النازي. يعني كانوا يتعرضون للتعذيب والاضطهاد. Some of them actually, because you see, being oppressed or living in such conditions, it forced some of the Gypsies to leave this kind of life, traveling all the time, living based on, you see, entertaining shows. They left this kind of life and they joined, you see, the modern societies. They became part of modern societies. Now, if you go and search online for people who are originally Gypsies, you will be really shocked to know that there are some of the most famous people in history, people very famous. Maybe we wouldn't expect that those people are actually Gypsies. يعني هم أكو بعض الناس مشهورين جدا هم أصولهم غجر, but because they mixed inside societies and left that kind of life, people didn't actually recognize them. يعني مثلا أمثالهم عندكم مثلا الممثل الشهير Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin was a Gypsy, for example. So what else? How can we can say the Gypsies be related to literature? Let's see. Poets and writers were inspired by them. Why? Because their free way of life represented liberation from social restrictions and closeness to nature. You see? Here we have to correct this one, and it is more precise like this. You see, so poets and writers, especially in the modern times, because you see, in the modern times, writers were searching for new ways of expression. They see that the traditional ways are not suitable for the modern subjects and themes and ideas. So when they look at the freestyle that the Gypsies live with, you see, being able to travel anywhere, to live in anywhere, living in caravans. By the way, the Gypsies, they live in caravans. يعني احنا حتى بالعربي نسميها كرفانات. يعني they don't have fixed homes. They have different places, different homes. You see, first of all, it makes them free from social restrictions. ما عندهم يعني ماكو قيود اجتماعية عليهم, and they are closer to nature than many people in modern times. And you see, as we are going closer to the modern times, we see that man is getting away more from nature. So in such times, in such let's say in such modern material life, the Gypsies are closer to nature than any average modern people, you see. So it is something that the writers were not only inspired by, they were truly fascinated by this. They liked and admired the way that the Gypsies live. That's why we will see that our poet, Ezra Pound, is going to say something about the Gypsies and their way of life. And you have to pay attention to something here. You remember that in the introduction to modern poetry, we said that Ezra Pound is considered to be the founder of Imagism. You remember this movement, Imagism? we can say in brief, what is imagism? Imagism means that the poet uses few words as possible. He relies on images in order to express the meanings, the ideas that he is trying to communicate with the reader. So I want you to focus on this. You will notice the poem is very short, as you have the poem in your handout. It's short, and it is filled with images. We don't have any explanations. We don't have, let's say, the poet is expressing any thoughts or feelings. He's just going to give us a certain image, and we are going to understand what he means by this image. So let's go through the poem and see by ourselves. That was the top of the walk when he said, "Have you seen any others, any of our lot, with apes or bears?" Notice here, that was the top of the walk. The speaker here, and let's assume that the speaker here is the same as the poet. He was walking, you see? That was. What is that? What is that? You see? What does it refer to? That here refers to the meeting which happened between the speaker and the gypsy. When did this meeting happen? It happened at the top of the walk. So the poet or the speaker, he was walking, and suddenly he met this person, the gypsy. What did the gypsy ask the speaker? What did he ask? Here you see the question here between two quotation marks. This question is asked by the gypsy. What does he ask about? Have you seen any others, any of our lot, with apes or bears? He's asking him about some people. He's asking him, have you seen any others? Why he said others? He assumed that the poet realized that he is a gypsy from his appearance. Have you seen gypsies? You see, let me give you some pictures here. You see? Do you see how what kind of clothes they wear? You see, they are very colorful. They have these musical instruments. They are dancing. You see, you can recognize a gypsy from his appearance, from his outside appearance. So, and you see here are the caravans with the animals. Here they live in such caravans. So when you look at a gypsy, you can recognize him directly. From the appearance, from the caravans, from the animals, they are so easily recognized. So here in the poem, you see when he said, have you seen any others, any other people who are like me, who look like me? Any of our lot, here he means by lot people, with apes or bears. You see, he's giving him what makes one of the, let's say, marks which distinguishes the gypsy is what? Having animals like apes, like bears. So here, let's see here this note. The speaker is walking somewhere in nature when he met a person. This person asked him whether he saw a group of people. They are recognized with animals they have. And of course, the people he's referring to are gypsies. How did we know that this person is gypsy? Let's see how the speaker describes him. He said, a brown, upstanding fellow, not like the half-castes. A brown. Why do you think the gypsy is a brown? Of course, he's referring to the color of the skin. Why is the gypsy brown? Why is the skin of the gypsy brown? Because you see, the gypsies usually they spend most of the time moving outdoors. You see, outdoors under the sun. They are constantly moving, traveling. They are exposed to the sunlight. That's why their skin becomes darker. Somehow it is kind of brown. See, so a brown, upstanding. Notice this word, it's really interesting. The use of this word is really interesting here. Look here at the explanation. He describes the person as brown, dark skinned from spending time under the sun. This person is a gypsy. Based on the poet's description, he describes him as upstanding, which means he is good and honorable. Whenever you refer to a person as upstanding، يعني احنا بالعربي شلون نقدر نقولها رزين مستقيم يعني. You see, it means that you are referring or you are describing the person as good and honorable. When you look at this gypsy's appearance, you feel that he's a really honorable person. So what does this show, or what does this mean? It shows that the poet has a positive attitude towards the gypsies. You see, our poet Ezra Pound, unlike society, you see, because society, as you remember, we said societies, they used to persecute and oppress the gypsies. Even in our communities, you see, the gypsies are not welcomed by people. Whenever people see a group of gypsies nearby, they try to run away from them because they are of unknown origin, because people feel that those people they are so free, they have this free lifestyle, they don't follow the same social rules. That's why people feel afraid of them. But here our poet or speaker, let's say, he on the contrary doesn't have this negative idea about the gypsies. Actually, it seems that he likes them. Unlike society, you see, not like the half castes. What does this mean? Who are the half castes? Half caste means that the person is that this person, the gypsy that the poet saw, is a pure gypsy. See, remember when we said that some of the gypsies left their life in their people's, let's say, group, and they joined society, so they became half gypsies and half, let's say, citizens, or let's say half, they are mixed. You see, they are not purely pure gypsies. But when you look at this person, this gypsy that the poet met on his walk, you can realize that this gypsy is pure. Up on the wet road near Claremont, the wind came and the rain, and mist clotted about the trees in the valley, and eyed the long ways behind me, Grey Arle and Biacre. So where did this meeting happen? It happened in some kind of natural place. Here the poet is describing, you see, he's describing the road. It is wet. Why it is wet? Because of the rain. There is wind blowing in this place. Mist also. You know mist, الضباب يعني. So the road through which the gypsy has gone searching for his people was not an easy road. It was filled with difficulty. It is very long one. You see, there are many, let's say, obstacles. It's a very hard way. We have the wind, the rain, the clay, the mist, all these things. So the gypsy has gone through a very long way searching for his people. And here you see, you have to notice, searching for his people is not only he's looking for them physically or geographically, he is as if he is asking for his own identity. What happened to my people? Where have they gone? Where is the group identity that used to gather the gypsies together, that used to unite them together. So this is not, we can understand or we can interpret this question not as a usual or just a question which needs an answer. This is a question about the identity, not a question about where is the location of those people. See, in this section, the poet describes the natural landscape where he met the gypsy. As already mentioned, the gypsies are closer to nature. You see, the gypsy actually is looking for his people in the place that he expect to find them in. For example, he didn't go to search in the city. He's not going to find, or he didn't expect to find his people, for example, living in the cities, looking for them in a place where he usually know that they would live in nature. See, because of their free way of life. This description also highlights the hard way the gypsy had to go through in search of his people. He had actually gone through different cities. You see, these are names of cities, French cities. You see. And here you see when he mentioned gray, you see gray cities. You see the color gray. They are not as colorful as nature. And he said, "Have you seen any of our lot?" You see, the gypsy is repeating the question again. He's insisting to know, where is my people? Where have they gone? So the question, what do we understand from this repetition? The question about his people is repeated. This repetition signifies the search for a lost identity which once characterized the gypsies. So our gypsy here is maybe he's really confused. Where are his people? Where is this identity which used to characterize them? Okay, let's see if our speaker is going to give him any good answer. What did the poet or the speaker answer the gypsy? He said, "I'd seen a lot of his lot ever since Rhodes, coming down from the fair of St. John with caravans, but never an ape or a bear." So did he see, sorry, the speaker or the poet, did he see? He said, "Yes, I've seen people like him. I've seen other gypsies, but I've seen them from maybe somewhere very far away." But were they as the gypsy described them? You see, here the speaker responds to the gypsy's question. He states that he saw people who are similar to the ones the gypsy is asking about. But what's the problem with those people? But the only thing which is different about them is that they didn't have apes or bears. Why they don't have apes or bears? Because they don't need them anymore. The people that the speaker have seen are actually gypsies, but those who have gave up their identity as gypsies. They have merged inside society. They have become part of the new society, the new material society. They lost their identity. So when they stopped being gypsies who are traveling in different places, living by entertaining shows, what did they do? They gave up also what? Their caravan, their bears and apes. This means that the gypsies people have lost their identity after merging with society. They are now part of the modern material world, which does not approve people's peculiarities. What is the problem of this new material world? It doesn't approve people's special, let's say, cultures or backgrounds or identities. It wants to make all people the same. You see, it doesn't approve their peculiarities and uniqueness. Also, the oppression the gypsies encountered in the 20th century forced them to leave behind their original identity. So after getting this discrimination, let's say, which was forced against them by society, the gypsies maybe great part of them decided to leave this life of traveling and try to merge with the new society, with the new emerging modern society, which is trying to make people all the same, with fixed forms, with fixed culture. You see, so after all, the question, you see this question here, you have to understand the question of the gypsy as a symbolic question, not a real question. It is a question about the loss of identity in the modern times, in the modern life. So I want you also to notice how short the poem is, and at the same time, notice here, he just gave us images. We can imagine the whole poem is as one image, just an image of two persons. One of them is a gypsy, and the other one is the poet, and just asking one question. The poet here is just giving us one image of an incident, and he's letting us as readers to understand and try to interpret the let's say the meanings behind the poem through images. He didn't actually directly say anything about the gypsy, but we were able to understand through imagining or through visualizing the images what the poem is mainly about. So there will be some questions after this lecture, and if you have any questions regarding the poem, you can ask at any time. Thank you very much for listening.